Hey guys, okay, so today I just wanted to give you a suggestion of something you can do right now today that's going to make your dog's life a little bit better. And that thing is to sit down with whoever lives in your household, whether that's just you, whether it's your family, housemates, whatever, whoever's in your household on a regular basis, sit down with them and write down a handful of things that are your dog's rules or expectations or things that you do or don't want them to do all of the time within the household. And the reason for this is that we tend to create quite a lot of inconsistencies within our household. So there are things like sometimes you're allowed on the couch and I'll give you a cuddle, and then the next day you've got muddy feet, so I'm going to tell you off. And some days you will jump, run inside, and that's fine. And then the next day I've got shopping in my hand, so I don't let you. And what that means is that your dog is getting very confused because there's different expectations. They're giving you the exact same behavior 2 days in a row and getting a totally different reaction from you. Or perhaps somebody in your household is giving them a totally different reaction to what you're giving them, and vice versa. And so what that does is it creates a lot of confusion and no clarity for your dog, which then means that they're going to feel unsure. It can help make them feel quite anxious because, as I said, they're showing you the same behavior, and one day they're getting in trouble for it and the next day they're getting rewarded for it. So it's a really difficult way for them to live, not knowing what is expected of them and not knowing how they should be behaving in their own household. So when you provide that clarity for them, that means that they can feel a little bit more relaxed in your household and know what's expected of them, and they're much more likely to actually follow those behaviors and do those things that you want because they're getting a consistent message about whether you want it or not. Okay, so what tends to happen here is that everybody in the family is doing something different, or you're doing one thing one day and not the next, and then your dog starts to go, okay, well, I'm not really clear on what's going on here, and so they don't have any rules or boundaries, and then you get really frustrated. Everybody in the household gets angry and frustrated, and I'm sure when you sit down to write your list, most of those top things on your list are going to be like the last thing you yelled at your dog about, or the last thing that you felt frustrated at your dog about. And you're going to write them down. You're going to be like, oh, actually, when I go back and look at this list, maybe my dog isn't being that naughty. Maybe my dog isn't like defiant, or, he always does this or he always does that and he never listens in this circumstance. Maybe it just comes down to the fact that he's getting a very mixed message every single time you do it because the time before you did something different. Now, you may think, oh yeah, well, no, I'm pretty consistent, but pretty consistent isn't enough. I want you to be like super, super consistent with them so that they're, even if they, 1 in 10 times they jump on the couch without an invitation and you just give them a cuddle, that's confusing because they're like, hang on a minute, normally I have to wait for an invitation, or normally I'm not allowed up here at all, and all of a sudden I'm getting snuggled for it. What's going on? And that creates some stress because how are they supposed to know? So to create a much less stressful environment for your dog, you need to sit down and be clear on the rules and expectations for your dog, because then nobody's going to need to yell at them. Nobody's going to need to get frustrated because you're going to have a clear way, a clear established way that everybody in the household is clear on. So your dog is going to understand the process and understand exactly what the rules and expectations are. And that clarity for them is really going to help relieve the stress or any extra stress that they may be feeling within the household as well. And it can really help with anxiety. It's also really important to do with puppies because they're just little sponges at this age. And so if you're confusing them with all these different mixed messages, it can become really difficult for them to understand as an adult dog exactly what's expected. Whereas if you sit down as a family from day dot and decide this is what the rules are, this is what we want him to do or not to do, then from day dot, he's going to go, okay, well, this is just life. These are the rules, these are expectations. I'm just going to go with it, and it's absolutely no big deal. So I hope that helps somebody today. Sit down with your family, get a piece of paper, stick it to the fridge, and just write down things that you definitely do or don't want your dog to do. What are the boundaries? What are the expectations of your dog? And is everybody actually being clear on it? What do you do if they get it right? What do you do if they don't get it right? And if everybody's doing that same thing, it's going to make it a lot easier for your dog to learn and a lot less stressful for him. Okay, bye.